I really like the description of the Big Bang. That one day source was this. I'm going to be, shall we say, a little bit of my strange humor. Um, One day source was bored and said, "I want to know more about who I am," and so trillions of particles streamed out from him. We call that the Big Bang, or we like to call that the Big Bang. And each one of those was a soul, and it went off into a journey into creation, sometimes diving into really, really what we call dark places.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on For Conscious Illumination with my dear friend, David Maria. Hi, David.
Kathy, so
So,
good. It's so good to be here, and so good to be here with everybody that will see this.
oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have everyone get your insights on soul, your definition of soul and soul illumination, and to learn from you. I know you have a new class coming up that just perfectly fits what we're doing, and lets people dance with source and really reconnect to who they really are at a level that they may not even know. It may be a new adventure for them. So David, why don't we start with, for people that don't know you, could you talk a little bit about your awareness and how you got to seeing a bigger cosmology of reality than most people?
Yeah, I don't know about most people. I just have the perspective that is the gift that I have. So I've had many awakenings through the course of my life. Not every one of them actually held, shall we say. Not every one of them was something that I went, oh, I need to completely reorganize and change my life. And so basically what I did is I continued on with my life as it had been. But then in 2018, I was called through dreams to go to Africa, to Kenya, and discovered all of the reasons. I had about maybe a dozen dreams, and every single one of them turned out to be prophetic. Every single one of them came true, including meeting the not the lead, but the seer that is the communicator for the 12 seers of the Kikuyu people within Kenya. They accepted me and put me through my paces, as they say, and that was not something that I could just ignore. My whole life blew up and had to change, which is a good thing. It's a really good thing when that happens. And in 21, 22, I returned to Kenya for the third time, and I was inducted or initiated into the Society of Seers as the first ever 13th seer within their society. Definitely the first white person ever to have that happen. And that particular induction, what it did was it removed the veils that we all have. When we take birth, veils get put on us and we forget who we are. We forget that we're fully multidimensional beings. And in this induction, all of those veils were removed, allowing me to be able to see farther, to journey farther, to see more, to know more. I know stuff that I have no idea how I know it, but I know it. And that's because it comes through from source.
Well, I can vouch for all of this because I've taken lots of classes from you, with you, And I brought you to Boulder, Colorado twice now to train other people on long weekend retreats, which are
Looking forward to a third.
yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Because what the opportunity is in David's presence is he opens a door to a remembering of who you really are at a core level. And the access point changes and rearranges so much of your perspective, and may even, if I would be so bold as say, bring your gifts into this reality where your programming, your conditioning that you got from your family, and they got it from their family, all of that work may not serve you now, and you may not know how to release it, and you may not want the slow path to releasing it. There's lots of ways to learn energy work and to learn how to work with the unseen world that we have. But what I found is David's work it was remarkable how fast I could change and how many more positive gifts that came through from the work, from taking the classes. So I thank you. I love this stuff.
So,
It's amazing.
thank you, Kathy. And another way of saying that is just like in chemistry, you might say that I function like a catalyst with your soul.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something necessarily that I consciously do. It's just the nature of who I am in the way that I'm able to interact with each person's soul.
So when you talk about soul, can you give us some insight into how you perceive your soul or souls in general? And from that, we'll probably have some other questions.
Well, souls in general is probably too deep, broad of a subject to be able to talk about, because there, as many planets and galaxies as there are in just this universe, which is just one of many, many, many universes. That's how many different types of souls there are. And souls are on phenomenal journeys into creation. Some of them are no longer physical. Some of them have completely moved beyond what we consider to be this particular dimension. They no longer eat food. They no longer sleep. They don't need any of those things. Energetically, they are way supported. And it's almost unfathomable to talk about the different levels of consciousness and mastery that souls possess across all of creation, not just this universe. And some souls are self-created. I know that seems unusual, but there are some souls that literally create themselves. They come directly from source and they create themselves. And ultimately every soul is that, because every soul is created by source. I really like the description of the Big Bang, that one day source was, I'm going to be, shall we say, a little bit of my strange humor. One day source was bored and said, I want to know more about who I am. And so trillions of particles streamed out from him. We call that the Big Bang, or we like to call that the Big Bang. And each one of those was a soul, and it went off into a journey into creation, sometimes diving into really, really what we call dark places and bringing light to it, transforming it. Sometimes not so much, but just anything is possible on the individual journey of the soul, of a soul. But it's every soul no matter what it looks like, is source. It is the creator. There's no separation there.
So when you're helping us clear the overlays that we may have to hiding hiding our origin, our source, our soul from ourselves, which is how the game is played here on planet Earth. When you're doing that, are you finding a difference between how you work with some groups rather than others? Are you finding that the soul groups have a different frequency and a different meaning or vibration than others?
Well, ultimately, when you return far enough when you remember deep enough that you're not a physical body, then at some point you're going to be able to experience what is known as the monad, which is unity consciousness, singular consciousness. And within that, you will meet a lot of souls that you know. You'll meet soul family, and there may be a huge amount of tears associated with those kinds of reunion and homecoming. You will also discover that you're part of an oversoul. And all of those are different levels of work, different levels of gifts that you have and that you bring in service to everybody else, because every single one of us is in service to everybody else. That's just the way it is. And then there is something beyond that, way beyond that. Because even though that's all in unity consciousness, that is also still a form, if you will, of individuation as a soul. And what is inside that soul, from my perspective, that's where the goodies really start to come through. And that's the essence. What's behind what's inside your soul? What's behind it? What is the source of its coming into being? That's the essence of what this next class that I'm going to share is.
Okay. So I've been in some of your classes where people have kind of cracked open, not with a lot of pain, but there was an instant remembering, and it was miraculous where someone may have appeared angry or defensive, and their heart wide open. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, about some of the things you've seen with the changes as you've been doing this work the past couple of years?
Most people, and by most, I mean, just think of anybody that you can think of in your neighborhood, your family, the city where you live in. Most people, even though they may not remember who they are yet, there is a longing that is inside of them to remember. And some people will spend weeks, days, weeks, months, years praying, asking, oh, please let me remember. Please let me remember. And then in one moment, the egg, if you will, that is the energy container of their soul, it's their light body, it cracks just a little tiny bit. And most people will go, what was that? What's that? And shut it down. Because they're really and truly, they're not ready yet. People that have near-death experiences, they don't have a choice. they have an experience. They drop their body for a little while. But and yet those experiences are always filtered by whatever the belief systems that they carry. I always say that I don't believe in anything anymore. And if I discover I do, then I work at dissolving it. Because a belief system is a filter that prevents you from direct perception, directly seeing whatever it is that's appearing, that's in front of you. And so people, when they go out and they have near-death experiences, oftentimes they experience through the filter of their beliefs. Are they a member of a religion? Do they believe this, that, them, or the other, whatever it might be? And the universe confirms that that's true for them, or at least it filters it and clouds it. So in the course of the classes, there is a level of we don't deal with beliefs. We deal with direct experience. And if you believe that your heart's not going to open, I can promise you that's true. It won't. But if in the context of a class, a belief can be suspended, even if it's just for a moment, then not only does the egg or the light body crack, it cracks open. It doesn't just open a little tiny crack, it opens. Whether the individual person is able to hold that energy right away, or whether they have to continue with it to do practices, that's a different story. Then it's each individual person. But basically things do get cracked open.
Well, what I was referring to were a couple of the people that I've watched blossom over the year, where people were kind of introverted and hadn't forgiven family or friends of things, and then they're now fully embracing themselves and loving themselves. I've just seen amazing changes with people, right?
Whatever it is, they're too numerous to be able to list. People afraid of being seen, people afraid of receiving their own power. Trust me, I understand that. I pushed power away, my personal power, for decades, but before finally going, okay, I have to, surrender's the only option here. And I mean, people being afraid to step out and teach are now teaching. People hiding in their houses, being house hermits, now are doing something completely different.
Yeah.
Basically, people opening up to themselves and their own gifts and discovering what those gifts are. Because we all carry different, every single one of us carries a gift and codes for everybody that we meet, whatever that gift is and whatever those codes are.
Well, the beauty of all this is that you get to remember who you really are, and then you get to experience and play around with creating and co-creating in this now time from that space, which is much easier to manifest from, I think.
And then we discover we get to dissolve until there is no more of the person that we thought we were all along. There's no more necessarily a personality. I often say that in 2018, I did go to Africa and I did return, but David didn't.
Right.
David went off to remedial school for a while.
Well, why do you think that you were given this incredible capacity and the desire to teach at this time? We're in a huge time of change.
Because it's who I am.
Okay.
This is why I came. This is why I'm here. This is why I went through all of the stuff that I went through in order to be able to finally arrive at this point, and this is why it was literally given to me as a gift.
Hmm. Okay. Well,
Because everything that came to me through the journeys in Africa was a gift.
well, you've done things even before Africa that were shamanic work and other changes, but this was profound. And I can bear witness to it. It was quite profound, the differences that came through, and again, the opportunity for others to hitchhike. Well, I don't know what else to call it. I mean, when you open your
You
field.
you make it sound like there's a cadre of a couple thousand people following behind me.
No, but when we're in class, where you open your field and your human gets out of the way, and then the big David comes in, and then all of us get the benefit of playing in that field or remembering that who we really are in that field and experiencing it again and holding on to it, because not only do you get the experience during the class, you also get the recordings. So you can go back and revisit it, whatever experience you had. Sometimes when I was in class, I would nod off, but I woke up when we were done, I knew that I was out of the field, but I felt so comfortable and safe that I could surrender to that, which that's unusual in itself for me. But when I'd wake up, I was altered and I still had to recoup. And I'm so sure that it's helped me. I mean, people see me that haven't seen me in 4 years, and
They,
I'm not the same person.
they know you're different
Yeah, yeah.
because you are.
Well, I'm also happier. I mean, this is really kind of a funny place, if you look at it that way, rather than being a victim of it. It's whoever put this game together has a sense of humor, I think.
So Earth is just a big improv then.
It's a what?
A big improvisational theater.
I don't know. I don't know. But
So,
okay, so let's talk a little bit again about your classes coming up. You just did one on the dragons, which it got rave reviews from people that I know. And now you're doing these one-on-one classes, not just doing series of classes now. So
right.
do you want to talk about your new class a little bit?
The one coming up on February 3rd is called Beyond Soul. And most people know that they're not the body that they're inhabiting. They have a body, but they're not the body. And I would postulate that you have a soul and you're not that soul.
Oh,
You're something else beyond that soul.
wow.
Even though that soul is phenomenally miraculous. And I oftentimes liken source consciousness to a diamond, and a soul is born and makes its own decision whether it's going to go into incarnation or not. That's a personal decision that each soul makes. Many souls don't. They stay. They never step out of the monad. And I liken the journey of their soul is that they project their consciousness into an incarnation. And that's one facet of that immense diamond that is source, just one little tiny facet. And yet it feels when you're in that facet, it feels complete and whole unto itself, but it's just one facet. And then they project themselves into another one and another one. And at the same time, that there is the appearance that you are outside of the diamond, outside of source, and you're projecting yourself into a facet. Correspondingly, source is from the inside, projecting you into another facet. But it's source as you manifest with inside of it. It for me, it's this phenomenal conundrum that doesn't seem to make any sense at all. Not that it needs to make sense. And yet there is something vastly beyond that. And it's the beyond that this class is really going to center on.
So I have to ask about if that one facet of the diamond is in this avatar body right now. And they say that all of your lifetimes are happening all at the same time. In the present now. Are there different facets of the diamond in all those other versions of you?
So think of it like this: you as a soul are floating in the vastness of creation.
Mhm.
By yourself. You're the only thing there. And then you project your consciousness into an incarnation, and you take form. You build a body there.
Mhm.
And you project your consciousness into another life, and another life, and another life. And they all are surrounding you like a sphere with points of light, each one of those points of light being an incarnation. You are every single one of those, and yet you are not any of them. You are the soul, the consciousness sitting in the middle of them, bringing each one of them into creation on the journey of you as a soul.
Okay, well, but are all of those points of light one facet of the diamond? Or do they each have their own facet? Or is that?
I'm not following you by, is each one of them a facet of the diamond, or is each one of them its own facet? Those are the
Right.
same things.
Right.
Those are the same.
No, I thought the one facet of the diamond could express itself in a multitude of expressions.
And it
Okay.
does. Each one of the incarnations that you go into, you create other incarnations that follow through it. You have interactions with other souls. So over the course of all of the lifetimes that you've participated in, you have been somebody that you know has been your mother, father, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, great aunt, great grandmother, et cetera, et cetera. You've been a victim, you've been a predator, you gradually go through and experience all of it. And yet it's only just one little fragment or fractal, if you will, of the whole. And at a certain point, you have the impetus, each of us regains the impetus to want to return, to want to, because all of those are just a glimpse, but it's not the whole.
Right.
Feel like the whole, but it's just a glimpse. And then there is the impetus to return to the full awareness of the being that is projecting itself, the consciousness that is projecting itself into all of those incarnations. In other words, we begin to want to remember that we are the awareness that is aware of itself being aware.
Wow. Yes, that makes sense. And I've had some benefit from your classes of being able to expand my viewpoint to include a bigger perspective of this reality. And in fact, I feel it's better. It's a asset for problem solving and for everything, for interaction. It's a better way to stay present in the in with other people. But
Yeah.
what you're saying is that's just the teeniest
Teeny,
bit
tiny,
of
tiny.
wow. And so how does someone handle that large of an expansive knowledge? Are our physical bodies capable of
Absolutely.
working with that?
Absolutely.
Oh,
I can't speak to anybody else's concept of this. I can only speak to mine, to what it is that I feel inside me and what I sense that I know. So for me, the concept of enlightenment, or what we refer to as enlightenment, is that consciousness that projected itself into an infinite number of incarnations finally reaches the place to where it is aware of all of them simultaneously. And the synchrony of that awareness, the timelines between all of those lives begins to dissolve. And they start to return into this body in this lifetime, because this is where we're doing it now, right now. If we're doing it someplace else, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And all of that awareness that the awareness that was projected into each one of those lives is who you are
yeah.
simultaneously, and they all come back.
Wow.
They all return in a split moment.
Wow.
There's that wonderful Buddhist saying of before enlightenment, a mountain is just a mountain. Upon becoming upon becoming enlightened, a mountain is no longer a mountain. It is much greater. And after enlightenment, because enlightenment is just a little tiny blip on the journey of our soul, that after enlightenment, a mountain again is just a mountain. Chop wood, carry water.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's perfect.
You live in presence in the current moment.
Beautiful. Well, we need to wrap up right now. So want to make sure that everyone knows about your class coming up. It's called Beyond Soul Journey into Infinity. Is that
Yep,
correct?
yep.
And Dancing with Source, which sounds like fun. And we'll have
That's what we're doing.
yeah. Oh, well, we don't know who's leading. That's the problem. But we have a chance to find out, or at least play around with it.
At,
So,
at least play.
yeah. So, David, will you please share where everyone can find out more about this new class and any of your other classes and any of your other incredible recordings that I can't recommend it enough, you guys. You will see this is a gift that you give yourself that you won't even believe how easy it is to open yourself up to a whole different way of being and seeing the world.
And it's the gift that keeps on giving too.
Yes.
So you can find me on my website at www.theedentemplate.com. I'm pretty sure Kathy will put that into the video when it's released. You can also find me on Facebook in a couple of places. And if you want to just look at current classes that are being offered, then click on the events link on my side. If you want to look at all of the classes that are periodically offered, you can look on the classes link. And soon, very soon, all of the recordings of all of the classes that I've done will be available to be able to purchase just the recordings themselves. So
Thank you.